The night was thick with silence, broken only by the occasional howl of the wind against the windows. A dark presence loomed in the air, unseen yet suffocating. The lights in the grand suburban house flickered, casting elongated shadows along the walls. Camille adjusted the silk robe that barely clung to her shoulders as she poured herself a glass of wine. The evening should have been perfect. Her lover, a married man named Marcus, had just left her apartment after another one of their secret rendezvous. She smirked as she thought of him. Handsome, wealthy, powerful. Marcus was everything she had ever wanted. His wife, Olivia, was nothing but a shadow in their affair, an obstacle soon to be removed. Camille had seen it before. Men like Marcus always left their wives in the end. A sudden knock at the door startled her. Frowning, she glanced at the clock. 11:45 p.m. Too late for visitors. Cautiously, she approached the door and peeked through the peephole. No one was there. She hesitated before slowly unlocking and opening the door, just enough to peek outside. A gust of wind sent a shiver down her spine, but the hallway was empty. A soft whisper seemed to drift through the air, but she couldn't quite make out the words. Just as she was about to shut the door, she noticed something on the doormat, a small, black velvet box. Her heart pounded as she bent down to pick it up. Inside the box was a single gold wedding band, unmistakably Marcus's. But what made her breath catch in her throat was the engraving inside the band, "Until death do us part." A chill slithered down her spine. This had to be Olivia's doing. But how did she know? Was this some sort of mind game? Camille slammed the door shut, locking it tightly. Her fingers trembled as she dialed Marcus's number. Straight to voicemail. Her phone buzzed suddenly, making her jump. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. "You thought you could take what's mine? The nightmare has only begun." Camille's breath hitched. The air in her apartment suddenly felt suffocating. She turned on all the lights, trying to convince herself this was just Olivia trying to scare her. But then she heard it, the unmistakable creak of a floorboard behind her. Spinning around, she saw nothing. The apartment was empty. Or was it? She locked herself in her bedroom, heart hammering in her chest. She needed to get out to go somewhere safe. But just as she reached for the door handle, the power cut out. The apartment was swallowed in darkness. And then, from the closet, she heard the faint sound of breathing. Camille stood frozen, her breath shallow, ears straining against the silence. The breathing from the closet was soft, almost imperceptible, but undeniably real. A primal fear gripped her as she realized she wasn't alone. Her fingers fumbled for her phone. She turned on the flashlight and aimed it at the closet door. The dim glow barely cut through the darkness, but it was enough to make out the slightest movement, something shifting in the shadows. A cold whisper snaked through the air. "You don't belong here." Camille screamed and stumbled backward, her heel catching on the rug. She crashed onto the floor, pain shooting up her arm. The closet door creaked open, inch by inch, revealing nothing but an abyss of darkness inside. Suddenly, her phone vibrated violently in her hand. A message from Marcus, "Leave now." Her hands trembled as she scrambled to her feet. She lunged for the bedroom door, yanking it open with all her strength. The hallway outside was pitch black, the power still out. She bolted toward the front door, her breath coming in short gasps. As she reached the doorknob, the sound of bare feet slapping against the floorboards echoed from behind her. Something was coming. Fast. She yanked the door open and ran into the night. The cold air hit her like a slap, but she didn't stop. Camille sprinted down the corridor of her apartment building, not daring to look back. Only when she reached the stairwell did she steal a glance over her shoulder. Nothing. The hallway was empty. She gasped for air, her mind racing. This was no longer just Olivia's petty revenge. Something unnatural was at play. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. "It's not Olivia. It's her curse. I tried to warn you. Her heart pounded in her ears. A curse? It sounded absurd. But after what just happened, Camille wasn't about to dismiss the idea. She needed answers. She needed to see Marcus. She arrived at Marcus's estate, a grand mansion tucked away in a secluded part of the city. She pounded on the door until it swung open, revealing Marcus's tired, haunted face. He pulled her inside without a word and locked the door behind her. "Tell me what's going on," Camille demanded, her voice shaky. "What do you mean, her curse?" Marcus ran a hand over his face. "Olivia isn't just my wife, Camille. She comes from a bloodline that dabbles in things beyond our understanding. She warned me that if I ever betrayed her, the spirit of her ancestors would come for the woman who took what was hers." Camille stared at him in disbelief. "You're telling me I'm being haunted because of some ancient family curse?" Marcus nodded grimly. "I didn't believe it either, until the first woman before you disappeared, and the one before her." A sickening realization settled in Camille's stomach. "What do you mean, disappeared?" Marcus swallowed hard. "They were found, days later, but they weren't themselves anymore. And some were never found at all." A loud bang shattered the eerie stillness of the mansion. The front door rattled violently, as if something was trying to force its way inside. "It's here," Marcus whispered, his face draining of color. "We have to leave. Now." Camille's body went cold. The air thickened with an oppressive presence, and then, just outside the window, she saw it, a figure, pale, tattered, its face obscured in the shadows. It stood deathly still, its head tilting unnaturally to the side as if studying her. Then it took a step forward, and another, until its face was nearly pressed against the glass. Camille screamed. The glass shattered inward with a deafening crash, shards raining across the floor. Camille and Marcus barely had time to react before the entity slithered inside, its presence warping the air around it. It wasn't just Olivia's revenge. It was something older, something relentless.